Orphanage Farm, and we're going to talk a little bit about what happens here, what happens on Jenny's farm.
My name is Robert Dziweni, one of the farmers focusing on organic growers.
We are based in Aberdeen, a city in the northeast of Scotland.
We're in a farm called Orphanage, which is just outside the village of Dunscore.
Orphanage is 130 acres and we have 15 acres of woodland here, mostly grassland because that's what grows best in this part of Scotland, being what we term warm and wet. I think Malawian people would not call it warm. You can tell what we're wearing. It's not warm in winter particularly. Grassland because yes, too much rain, so barley and wheat doesn't ripen very easily. But having said that, with climate change, our weather patterns are changing, so that can be a bit erratic.
Yes, it's a very similar setup with us. We're 120 acres and it's all grassland. The only cropping we do is grass to feed the cattle.
And how about, Jenny, being a woman in farming? How is that in Scotland?
It's definitely the best it's ever been. Kath and I were talking before, and I think when she first started out things were slightly different, but there's much more acceptance of it now, and you are a farmer within your own right. You're not a female farmer, you are a farmer, and you are just as capable and just as educated, so it's definitely improving.
So how have you found it, Kath?
Yeah, I would say the same, that in the past when I first started doing lambings for other people, which would be about 30 years ago, there were fewer of us, and a lot of the sort of women would be supporting their husbands by doing, say, paperwork or something, rather than actually physically doing the farming. But now there's far more women actually doing the physical farming as well.
Ine ndine NLC Joe, ndine mulimi wa fenzi 2 tumakhamuzi mwa Chinangwa. Ndifuna ndifotokoze za background ya Kasinthula mzimbe zinayamba 1997 ku fenzi 1. Ku fenzi 2 tinayamba 1998. 98 yomweyo mwezi wa December tinayamba kudzala nzimbe. Ndipo ku fenzi 2 ko tinapempha mahekitana kuti tidzale chimanga, ndeti malimako chimanga chanthirira. Phase 2. Kenako kunabwera phase 3. Kenako kunabwera phase 4. Moti alimi onse anzimbe pakasinthula pano tilipo 762.
So it started with this person named John, who was living very close by, and it was covered in bramble, and it was just an unused space. Over time, the bramble was cut back and it was made into a more accessible space, and the community just naturally started growing around it as a place to grow things and connect with people and participate in different activities.
It started during the pandemic, so as well, like, it provided quite a needed space, like a close by space, green space.
And it fits into a wider network of community growing organisations that are throughout Aberdeen.
One of the successes is that it brings so many different people, from students to people who have lived in Tillydrone for many generations, and we don't just do gardening. There's quite a lot of social events, and I think that's one of the successes, that even for people who might still not want to garden as a hobby, they still have that green community space. So I think that's one of the...
I think often community growing in Aberdeen is very much focused on mental health, on increasing connection within neighbourhoods. For example, as we mentioned earlier, between, say, in this area we have the university on one side, and then there's also kind of an intergenerational local community in Tillydrone, bringing together different demographics within the area, and as well as that, a lot of it's motivated by environmental causes. So a big part of the task that we've been doing today is maintaining an area that we maintain for biodiversity, So those are the sort of motivations we have in running our community managed growing spaces.
Because it started during the pandemic, that was one of the big challenges, that while the space was open to people, it was quite restricted in terms of like having a large group or even a small group was difficult. So I think at the start it was quite difficult to get like people in.
And have you noticed any issues relating to climate change, either of you?
So Matthew and I have got a micro-hydro, and so we make electricity on the burn. We produce electricity on our small river burn that runs through the farm. This is the turbine house for the micro-hydro. We put this system in 12 years ago, and in the past we would have 10 days throughout the whole year where we wouldn't be producing any electricity. But last year it was 90 days without any electricity, the previous year 60 days, the previous year 30 days, and then before that it was always only 10. So it really is a very obvious pattern.
I wonder in terms of climate, what the limiting factors are, if it's like the rain, like if they have to deal with like very dry seasons. I think that's one of the things that I wonder about the most, is like, do they get enough rain for the crops?
Obulezaya mulimo wa phase 2 kusintha kwa nyengo kuno kukasinthula kwatikuza munjira zosiyana-siyana. Ndikumbukira bwino chaka chatha kunabwera cyclone Ana. Ndi mvula ya mphamvu imene inabwera ndikubwesa mchenga wambiri m'mafidi mwathu, zimene zinatipangitsa kuti pokolola tivutike chifukwa cha mchenga umene unali mizimbe mmenemu. Chinthu china zaka ziwiri zapita mbuyozi kunali ng'amba, kunali dzuwa, mvula inasowa, choncho mizimbe yathu inalephera kukula mwathanzi, inanyenchera, zokolola zathu zinali zochepa. Magetsi nthawi imene ankangozimazima chifukwa cha kuchepa kwa madzi mushire, choncho tinavutika kwambiri chifukwa tindapeza zokolola zochepa. Chinthu china chonena kuti kabweredwe ka mvula nthawi ina imatha kubwera yambiri, zimene zimatisokonezera so kukolola. Monga chaka chatha tayamba kukolola mochedwa chifukwa mvula inapitirira kufikira munyengo imene timakolola zokolola zathu. Zinthu ngati zimenezo zimatithandizira kuti mabajeti athu amene timapanga pakasinthwa pano asokonekere. Ndiye kusintha kwa nyengo pano pakasinthwa pamatikhudza munjira zambiri. Zikomo kwambiri.
Ndedza nimachokera kwa Chinangwa phase 2. Kuti kupanopa tikupanga zoti tikuteteza chilengedwe cha mizimbe yathu, kunabwera mafazi kukwirira. Ndiye pano timatenga mitengo ndikudzala ndikuteteza nthaka yathu, koma sitimatha kulola kudula mitengo, sitimayilola kuti idulidwe ayi. Ndiye timatenga maujeni mafida bogosi kumayikamo chani chitetezo cha mitengo, kumateteza bwinobwino nthaka yathu kuti ibwerere m'malo mwake. Panopa tikukonzekera kumapanga zimenezo daily chifukwa chokuti nthaka yathu tikakhala ni mitengo, nthaka yathu imabwerera kukhala mchumacho.
Kath used a really good word earlier, being erratic. The extremes are evident a lot more than they have been. At the end of December, there was a lot of rain here in the Dumfries area, and there was some flooding. There were sheep that had died in the rivers, and there were bridges that had been washed away, and there was a lot of devastation. And I feel like that is becoming more an annual event than it ever was. So.
What about diversification on Hillhead?
We decided to go into tourism accommodation.
And diversification is quite normal in Scottish farming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it increasingly in the last 30-40 years it's increased all the time?
That's what
say.
It's either you go big or you diversify. So you've either got the land capability to increase your stock numbers and get the income that way, or it's diversification. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's increasingly hard to make a living off of small farms like ours and to feed a whole family on that. So.
But it's great to have these smaller farms because you don't have the huge monoculture that happens in great big farms, so we get better diversity of livestock and wildlife around, which is tremendous, and it's very obvious, that kind of thing.
Kuchoka phase 3 mavuto amene tikumana nawo pakasinthula ngati alimi ndi kusefukira kwa madzi, kuzimazima kwa magesi, komanso kukwera kwa mitengo ya zinthu zimene timagwiritsa ntchito pa ulimi wathu wa nzimbe ngati fertilizer, komanso mankhwala amene mitengo yake tikugula yodulirako, tikumagula yodula kwambiri.
Dunsker has been a fair trade village for approximately 12 years and one of the first in the country and certainly the first in this whole area of Scotland.
Through this fair trade premiums, we had managed to construct a school at Chinangwa village.
This is Manchombe Primary School, which was sponsored by Fairtrade.
There had also been electrification projects that had been implemented in different phases.
This is the transformer in Chinangwa village, representing the electricity project which was done in Chinangwa village.
And there is also borehole. There are also several boreholes that had been drilled using Fairtrade premium funds. I can talk of more than 30 boreholes has been drilled. These are the benefits that Fairtrade has offered here at Kasinthwa again growers. We also managed to build a clinic at Kasinthwa where people who are getting affected, do get their medical support there.
This is Kasinthwa Clinic, which was sponsored by Fairtrade.
And also we bought tractors, a numbering of 2, which are also helping this business to operate. For the welfare of farmers, we also bought 2 trucks. Those are vehicles that are being used to ferry farmers when they get sick to the hospitals, and as well as when they are attending some funerals. So looking at the entire organization, the benefits that we have gotten through these Fairtrade premium funds are vast. So to be in this system is our motto, and we encourage you to keep on supporting us with this Fairtrade system opportunities. Otherwise, we farmers of Kasinthwa growers system are greatly appreciating the job that you are doing there, because it has been very beneficial. This is what I have mentioned, just a few of a number of benefits that we have achieved through Fairtrade premium funds. With these few remarks, thank you very much for listening.